Back, and here are my closing statements. To most Nigerians, crude oil discovery has been a curse rather than a blessing. With well over 1.5 trillion in revenues since 1958, the nation has nothing in concrete terms to show for this colossal sum, while other natural resource-rich nations have used theirs to develop a fully diversified economy. Nigeria, however, has frittered its wealth away in riotous living and mindless corruption. Most shockingly, our refineries have deliberately been rendered prostrate in spite of huge sums expended in turnaround maintenance. To compound matters, almost half of daily crude oil production itself is being stolen by a faceless cartel, and the money is diverted for personal use. What then is the way forward? Now, the recent passage of the Petroleum Industry Act 2022 is a most welcome development. However, the attainment of its intended objectives must be hinged on the following recommendations, or else the PIA will amount to a worthless piece of legislation. I must say that the event where the President and NNPC echelon gathered and did a name change with much fanfare was a mere charade. It is akin to a car with a knocked engine, whose owner, rather than get a new engine, keeps spending money on glossy paint to whitewash its body. And here's my recommended solution. If Nigeria must derive maximum benefits from its oil and gas endowment, it must adopt the NLNG business model in the complete privatization of the NNPC and its various subsidiaries. The NLNG is a Nigerian business entity, but with diverse ownership. It was established in 1989 to take full advantage of our huge gas reserves. The ownership comprises Shell Gas, who owns 25.6%, Total Energy Gas, 15%, AGIP/ENI, 10.4%, and Nigeria through NNPC owning 49%, bringing the total to 100%. Now, its first LNG shipment from Bonny Island in Rivers State to France in 1999 began its odyssey of a steady gas exportation. Now, 21 years after it began operations, the NLNG has 11 billion in installed assets. It has generated revenues of 108 billion, and it has paid 35 billion US dollars as dividends to its shareholders. 49% of that, due to Nigeria, is about 16 or 18 billion US dollars. It has also paid 9 billion US dollars in taxes to the federal government. And lastly, it's got $15 billion in feedstock gas in reserve. Apparently, from the foregoing, the NLNG is a resounding success story. I dare say it is the exception to the rule in our environment where almost every business entity owned by the federal government has either failed or is performing woefully since independence. In fact, some, such as the Ajaokuta Steel Company, never even took off to begin with. So, the NLNG is a good outlier and positive role model. What strategic factors are responsible for the NLNG success story? Number one, ownership. The ownership of the NLNG, as I highlighted mentioned, is diverse among 4 different entities. Nigeria, through the NNPC, owns 49%, while 3 other international oil companies own the remainder, and critically controlling stake, as earlier stated. If Nigeria had ownership of the NLNG, it would most likely have become like several others before it. Most notorious are NITEL, NEPA, Nigerian Airways, Nigerian National Shipping Line, etc., etc. The second strategic factor contributing to its success, proven competence. The 3 other owners are foreign IOCs with demonstrable and proven capacity and competence to manage and operate the specific business. Shell BP, for instance, is perhaps the oldest crude oil company in the world, and its managerial capacity and competence in the industry is beyond question. Now, as presently constituted, the federal government, through the Ministry of Finance Incorporated and Ministry of Petroleum Resources, still owns 100% of the NNPC. Therefore, no amount of rebranding, name or personnel change will suffice for our oil and gas sector to function optimally, therefore, and deliver positive results as its peers in other countries do. The federal government must relinquish controlling interest to experts with proven and demonstrable capacity through a transparent and open bidding process, and this has been long overdue. Remember, change requires action, and positive change